Spider-Man loves to do whatever a spider can, and apparently so do a lot of other characters in pop culture. Hey everybody, I'm Josh Busker, and today we're going to be continuing a list you all seem to enjoy with the top 10 Spider-Man ripoffs, part 2. Coming in at number 10, we've got a bit of an honorable mention with an in-universe example from the MCU with Night Monkey. During the events of Spider-Man Far From Home, Peter Parker finds himself called into duty by Nick Fury while on vacation for a class trip to Europe. Since it would be a bit too obvious if both Spider-Man and Peter Parker conveniently were in Europe at the same time, Peter chose to use a black stealth suit for his mission against Mysterio's elementals. And when Betty Brant pointed out this new masked hero swinging around similarities to Spider-Man, Peter's friend Ned came up with the quick excuse of a European ripoff of Spider-Man known as Night Monkey. This may only count as an honorable mention, but still. When's our Night Monkey Disney Plus show, eh, Marvel? Coming in at number 9, we have the FLEA from the independent comic series PS 238, dealing with the misadventures happening at an elementary school for superpowered children. Born under the name of Alejandro Torres to two insect-themed superheroes that fell in love and started a family, the FLEA's similarities to Spider-Man are numerous, from his full-body costume, to his love of acrobatics, to his quippy sense of humor with both allies and enemies. The main distinguishing feature of this hero from the original Spidey is that the FLEA actually can control bugs, a power that so far, Spider-Man has only jokingly wished he could use. Coming in at number 8, we have DC Comics' REDBACK Spider. Not much is known about this character other than the very obvious question raised by their appearance. What if Spider-Man had a slightly scarier costume and liked to stab people? During an event that saw Timothy Drake teaming up with the supernatural superhero team Shadow Pact, the heroes found themselves in a desolate city surrounded by over 50 supervillains eager to take down the Boy Wonder. One of these super assassins was named the REDBACK Spider, and while they technically predate Miles Morales' black and red color scheme by a few years, their costume and fighting style are still super obviously influenced by Peter Parker, and brought an answer to the question of what would happen if Spider-Man and Robin ever fought. Just maybe don't tell Batman about this one. Coming in at number 7, we have Rowan Atkinson's Spider-Plant Man. Hailing from a short film of the same name that was filmed for the British charity Comic Relief in 2005, Spider-Plant Man is about a mild-mannered British photographer named Peter Piper who is bitten by, fittingly enough, a radioactive spider plant with teeth, giving him the ability to climb up walls and shoot long plants from his wrists whenever he extends his arms. With a girlfriend named Jane Mary and multiple references to parodies of Spider-Man villains, this project was obviously poking fun at the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films to earn money for charity, and is a pretty amusing piece of comic book parody history, especially considering the main villain at the end winds up being a very British Batman. And if that's not worth looking up on YouTube, I don't know what is. Coming in at number 6, we have the Crawler from the My Hero Academia spin-off manga known as Vigilantes. As a global franchise that's literally all about superheroes learning how to be superheroes, My Hero Academia obviously has a lot of characters that we could compare to the iconic teenage depiction of Spider-Man. However, the closest character to being a Spider-Man ripoff would have to be the Crawler from the My Hero Academia spin-off, whose powers give him similar abilities to a water spider or skimmer, allowing him to travel rapidly across any surface and also allowing him to stick to objects and walls whenever he pleases, just like a bug. Combine this with his sense of humor and an endless string of bad luck, and the Crawler definitely begins to show some similarities to a certain Mr. Peter Parker. Coming in at number 5, we have the spider-themed Kamen Rider Demons from the recent television series in the classic Japanese franchise Kamen Rider Revice. Similar to the Super Sentai franchise that's adapted for American audiences into the Power Rangers series, the Kamen Rider franchise has always been about colorful masked superheroes riding futuristic motorcycles and saving the day from masked villains, aka these guys are basically superheroes. And while the show has always had a motif of using the animal icons of spiders, cobras, and bats, the character of Kamen Rider Demons has a spider costume that is super obviously inspired by the famous wall crawler, complete with webbing and a red and blue color scheme that even involves multiple spider eyes. Needless to say that apparently being a spider-themed superhero has gone international. Coming in at number 4, we have Greg ARKIN from the classic Superman prequel series, Smallville. On a show dealing with the weekly adventures of Clark Kent as he struggled to balance his life throughout high school, many of the enemies that a young Superman would face got their powers from the same kryptonite meteor shower that brought Clark to Earth in the first place, with many Smallville citizens gaining unique abilities due to the kryptonite radiation. One of the most disturbing villains from early in the show's run was Gregory ARKIN, a classmate of Clark's who was obsessed with bugs and gained powers once he was bitten by some of his pets after they were exposed to radiation. All of Greg's resulting powers were incredibly similar to Spider-Man's, gaining super speed, super strength, and the ability to stick to any surface and climb walls, an ability that unfortunately Greg used to kidnap his longtime crush, Lana Lang, even if he'd eventually be redeemed by the final season of the show. Yay for redemption arcs for creepy bug-themed villains? Coming in at number 3, we have the Dragonfly from the critically panned 2008 parody known as Superhero Movie. A film primarily attempting to make fun of the X-Men and Spider-Man movies of the early 2000s, the Dragonfly is literally just Tobey Maguire's version of Peter Parker, but played by Drake Bell and making some of the worst sex jokes ever committed to film. Where Peter Parker is an awkward kid who gains spider powers, Rick Riker winds up gaining all the powers of a dragonfly, which mainly just seems to mean super strength and the ability to grow wings on his back. This movie is definitely not one I recommend, but it's still super interesting to look back when an entire movie could be funded just to try and make fun of Spider-Man. Coming in at number 2, we have ARACHNE from the British comic series The 10 Seconders. In a world where alien superheroes turned against planet Earth after serving them for years and now intend to conquer the entire world, a small resistance movement forms in London to take on these superpowered enemies, or gods as they're referred to in this universe. The situation is bleak as the name 10 Seconders refers to how long a normal human being can expect to survive when confronting a superpowered being in this world, and one of the most terrifying gods in this universe, filled with references to both DC and Marvel, is Arachne, the villain based on Spider-Man. Making reference to his neighborhood being really not that friendly, Arachne is a horrifying human-spider hybrid featuring multiple arms and bug-like stingers that he effortlessly uses to cut down his prey. This entire series is filled with heroes gone bad, but Arachne is a Spider-Man reference that leans a bit too much on the spider aspect. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have the infamous ARACHNAMAN. Now, we might all know that Spider-Man's origin story usually involves him trying to use his powers to earn some money in a wrestling ring. But did you know there was almost a real spider power themed professional wrestler? Well, as real as professional wrestling can get. Portrayed by the wrestler Brad Armstrong for the WCW in 1991, ARACHNAMAN was a yellow and purple fighter in spandex that was literally just a color-swapped Spider-Man, with even his low crouching mannerisms and agile fighting style seemingly based on the character. It was so obvious, in fact, that Marvel Comics actually threatened the WCW with legal action if they continued to rip them off so heavily, and thus the character of ARACHNAMAN was retired incredibly quickly, with only a few YouTube videos remaining of the few matches he actually got to fight. And for being the only character that actually managed to incur the wrath of Marvel's lawyers, I think ARACHNAMAN deserves the top spot on this list. That's all the time we have for today's video, but thank you all so much for watching. As always, I've been Josh Busker, and I'll see you all next time, Nerd Squad.